Wednesday night at the McCrory Center on the Lenoir-Rhyne campus, those in attendance were privileged to hear an extraordinary man speak, Colonel Lee Ellis. Colonel Ellis is an Atlanta-based leadership consultant. He speaks to Fortune 500 companies, academic, nonprofit, and other organizations. He was a POW in Vietnam for over 5 years. He recently returned to Vietnam to tour the site of his imprisonment, the Hanoi Hilton. Well, Ralph had the privilege of interviewing Colonel Ellis this morning.
Pleasure to have you. Now, Colonel Ellis recently spoke at Lenoir-Rhyne University, and he was kind enough to join us in our studios. Well, tell the folks a little bit about yourself and your background, if you would, please.
Well, I grew up on a farm in northeast Georgia, over near Commerce, where everybody knows, the old Pottery and Outlet Mall was. But I went to University of Georgia, ROTC, always wanted to fly. Quick as I graduated, I went straight to flight school. A year later, I had my wings, and about within a year, I was gone to war. The war in Vietnam, this was 1966-67, was building up. So as a fighter pilot, I went straight to Vietnam as quick as they could get me combat trained.
And I don't know if it's correct to call it the definitive event in your life, but certainly a major chapter in your life occurred in Vietnam when you spent, unfortunately, some time in what is known as the Hanoi Hilton, along with folks like John McCain. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Well, I was shot down over North Vietnam in the fall of 1967, 11 days after John McCain. We were in the same camp several times, and at the end we were together in the camp, saw each other every day. But that was a defining moment in my life because it's kind of your worst professional and personal nightmare to be captured in enemy territory and locked up for 1,955 days. But I matured a lot. I grew up. We had great leadership that really made a big difference, I think, for a young guy like me. I just turned 24. We had strong leaders, courageous leaders, and that's why I wrote that book, was to identify some of those characteristics of those great leaders that we had there. So it was a defining moment. I came through it well, and those of us who made it through have done well on the outside since we came home. We've lived well.
And you mentioned your book. I believe you have more than one, if I'm not mistaken. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? And
well, I have, yes, I have.
Title and where you can get them and all that.
I have 3 books, but the most important one right now is Leading with Honor, Leadership Lessons from the Hanoi Hilton. And it is the story of the leadership that we had there, but as a leadership consultant for 16 years, I take case studies and tie them to the stories and the lessons in each chapter. It's been out now for not very long, but it's Leading with Honor, Leadership Lessons for the Hanoi Hilton. Barnes & Noble has them here locally. I've signed some that are down there here in Hickory, North Carolina. So it's been well received by young and old, generals and admirals and CEOs and 19-year-old college girls and grandmothers. So.
And you recently had the opportunity, I believe, to go back to the Hanoi Hilton, which must have been an incredibly emotional experience. I think that was just earlier this year in February.
Yeah, in February I went back, sure did. And this time I was able to go back and take my wife with me. The first time I wasn't married. I was single during that time, and that was a good thing.
I don't think she would have wanted to go.
She wouldn't want to go, but she was there with me, and that kind of gave me the courage to know that I was really free and had been free for 41 years. It was pretty oppressive going back into the Hanoi Hilton. A lot of bad memories there, dark and oppressive, and the communist control. And what really got me, though, was when we went to this museum room. Most of the prison's been torn down. It's just kind of a museum now. And they showed how great they treated American POWs, and they were all true pictures, but they were taken on that one event a day when they gave us a really good meal, one event a year when they gave us a really good meal, or one small group of POWs that got to get outside and play basketball for about a month. And they showed that as though that was our entire treatment. Of course, 95% of us were tortured, and it was a long, hard struggle, especially the first 3 years. Thanks to the American people, our treatment got better the last 2 years, and the torture stopped because they put so much pressure on the North Vietnamese. They actually changed our treatment.
Well, that is certainly a fascinating and difficult subject, and I wish we could talk to you for much longer about it, but of course we can read more about it in your books. I know you have a website. Tell the folks where they can go to learn more about you and your books.
Right. Leadingwithhonor.com, same as the name of the book. Leadingwithhonor.com is the website where you can find out, and there's a lot of video of me speaking there. And also Facebook, Leading with Honor, or Leon Lee Ellis is my public Facebook.
And I know you're available for public speaking appearances as well, and I'm sure we can learn more about that at your website.
Yeah,
too.
and we have another public speaking website, leeellis.us. So we've got it covered out there.
Very good. Colonel Ellis, we thank you for coming by and speaking with us. We're glad to see you. It's certainly a horrific experience to go through as a young man, but you've come through it with flying colors, and we appreciate your service to our country as well.
Thank you. One day at a time. That's how you get through the tough things in life, one day at a time.
Thank you. That's Colonel Lee Ellis, and I'm Ralph Mangum for the WHKY News.
All right, thanks, guys, and thank you, Colonel Ellis, for everything. What a great guy. Otherwise, 53 is the overnight. We'll get wet tomorrow, and high tomorrow of 76. For all of us here at WHKY News, I'm Jim Karras. Thanks for watching, everybody. From Hickory, good night.